Welcome back to the newest episode of Ryanology. I'm your host, Ryanology, and thank you for tuning in. On this episode, I'm very fortunate to have an interview with Hanna Weissman, Director of Policy at Code.org, and Deborah Boisvert, who is the Executive Director of Computer Science for Massachusetts. I'm going to sit down with them and we're going to talk a little bit about computer science, the different education departments, as well as Dartmouth High School receiving the huge $10,000 grant for the BIT department. Please stay tuned and enjoy. Welcome back. Today on the show, I have Hanna Weissman, Director of Policy at Code.org, and Deborah Boisvert, a leader at CS4MA. So we can start with you, Ms. Weissman. Do you want to take us through your role at Code.org?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to be here to celebrate with Dartmouth and celebrate their award. So I'm the Director of Policy at Code.org, and so I work not just with Massachusetts, but across the whole country with school leaders and state leaders to develop policies to make computer science sustainable in schools. And so for a lot of schools, this is a new subject, and so they need funding to train teachers, they need standards, they need a certification, and so all of that requires working with policymakers at state capitals, district leaders, to really ensure that they have the support. We don't want it to be that when a teacher leaves, all of a sudden there's no computer science. We want to build up the support, and so it can be sustainable just like all other subjects.
Of course. And you, Ms. Boisvert, your role?
So I run a nonprofit that actually takes a lot of what she does and does it in the state. So my focus is really bringing in and working with teachers and district leaders, helping them understand what computer science is, helping them figure out what it takes to be able to run computer science in the course, helping them look at standards and how they cover them effectively from K to 12, and celebrating a lot of their successes through professional development, through various types of summits, et cetera.
So working with students with computer science and such.
Yes.
Perfect. Now to a little bit about the award that not only Dartmouth High School, but many schools across the country earned. So Ms. Weissman, how many schools approximately won this $10,000 award?
So it was, I can tell you exactly, it was 102, so it was 2 schools from every state. Ideally from every state, it was 1 high school and 1 middle school. And really focused on expanding computer science, so all students have the opportunity to take it.
Of course. And Ms. Boisvert, 2 in Massachusetts. So Dartmouth was the first, and the second school?
Leominster.
Leominster.
So more rural, middle of the state, in case you don't know where it is. Sometimes you're localized and you don't necessarily know where the other is.
Yeah, and especially in Massachusetts, you know the arm.
Right, and it's far away, absolutely.
Yeah. So Ms. Weissman, Code.org worked with Donors Choose on this $10,000 grant, and how did teachers apply, and how were they able to really start this funding for their school?
Absolutely. So there was an application process, and it was actually quite a quick process. This is the first year we've done it, so teachers had to be quite quick in applying. It only went on, I think, for a month or two, and they sent in the applications. They talked about what their school already had, the visions for how they could use this $10,000. And this was given to a variety of schools, but I think the commonality was we wanted schools who had that vested interest in building their computer science program. So maybe it was a school that didn't have any classes yet, but they had that administration that was supportive, they had those teachers, or it was a school like Dartmouth that already has a lot of infrastructure but is looking to further grow their program. And so as you heard a little bit earlier from the teachers, there was an application process where they put together the resources and materials and really laid out that vision. And so we feel really confident with this money going to Dartmouth that it's going to go to great things. And I'm really excited to come back in the future and to see how it's being used.
Of course, and it's definitely a big launch pad for teachers as well as students to continue their learning.
Definitely.
So now to Ms. Boisvert, Massachusetts in the United States is really, it's a hub of learning. Through our wonderful, wonderful colleges, to our towns and cities with different programs for students. How would you say this grant, as well as all the other multitude of grants and scholarships, how does this affect the students and their knowledge?
So I'm going to actually give you a few stats, because even though Massachusetts is top educationally, in computer science, we are not. 76% of our high schools do not. 76% of our high schools offer a foundational computer science class. 86% of students in Massachusetts attend a high school that basically offers that foundational computer science course, but only 5.8% of our students actually take a foundational computer science course. That is not what it takes to be able to create the technological workforce that our state depends on. So it is imperative for us to really think through how we build that capacity. Dartmouth High School has been really great about offering those opportunities for students. And so, it's important to be able to take that learning and even share that with how you did it and that type of thing with other schools. But it's amazing to me that in our state that is so dependent on technology, that we have stats like that. In fact, we fell during COVID because COVID, unfortunately, had a lot of schools rethinking schedules, and so the first thing they got rid of, because it was often an elective, was computer science. So we actually fell from 86% to 78% of schools.
So definitely with this grant and all these other different initiatives, it's getting students back into the computer science field.
Definitely.
And the world, I'd like to say, it's moving towards a more technological future. Even if you flip back 20, 30, 40 years ago, I know there's a famous image, it's a 2 megabyte hard drive and it's being loaded onto a plane. It's huge. And now we're carrying around 128 gigabyte computers.
Right, in our phone?
Our phones, absolutely. So getting students connected, it's a top goal and it's a top priority. Ms. Weissman, you work at code.org, and their main objective is to get students connected, to get students learning, to push them forward into the future. So what would you like to see, not only for Massachusetts, but for all the states as a whole, to continue pushing these kids into the future?
Definitely. So when I was in high school, I was really fortunate to be offered a computer science class, but it wasn't until my senior year. And it was, I would say, a more traditional class. I was learning programming behind a computer, and I was just thinking about using it in a tech career. And one of the things that I think is really exciting about Dartmouth, and I hope other schools can follow, is thinking about computer science in different ways. And so maybe I don't want to sit behind a computer all day and program, but maybe I want to use it with media. Maybe I want to use it with art. And so I think this next phase is thinking about computer science as this foundational skill that can be applied to any field. I'm someone who does a lot of sewing and crafts, and you can actually program a sewing machine to make a design for you. I mean, how cool would that be if we taught our students who love art, who are so talented, about how to apply technology? And I think that's the next step to really ensuring that all students see themselves in this career. If we think about computer science just very narrowly only as tech companies, that's not attractive to every kind of student. And so really broadening it and viewing it as this skill that is in all different kinds of companies, all different kinds of workforce. You do not have to be a traditional computer scientist to be using this skill all the time. And so I think that really starts in high school when students think about, what do I want to do in later life? and they start to see that this is an avenue for all different possibilities.
Of course, and it's also moving away from that kind of like old day education model.
Definitely.
So moving out of, obviously learning the core basics, elementary school, middle school, but
Completely.
moving into high school, kind of learning what you'd like to do, finding a little bit more about yourself, and getting connected for the future.
Definitely, and learning how subjects work together, right? When you go out into the real world, you don't have an hour of math and then an hour of science, you do it all together.
Yeah.
And I think computer science can be such a bridge to that in high school for you to meld all these subjects together.
And a lot of the job positions in our real day world, it's not just math
Correct.
or just English. It's that blend of almost everything that students learn in
Everything.
high school.
Definitely.
So getting that started earlier,
Absolutely.
definitely be easier. Well, I'd like to thank you both for coming on today. Thank you once again for the amazing grant that we had to the Dartmouth High School. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're so excited and really proud to be here.
Of course, and I can't wait to see the other grants for the other schools,
Yes.
as well as what Dartmouth High School can pursue in the future. So
great.
thank you once again.
Definitely, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ryanology. I'd like to send a big thank you to Hanna Weissman, the Director of Policy at code.org, as well as Ms. Deborah Boisvert, who is the Executive Director for Computer Science for Massachusetts. I'd also like to send a big thank you to Mr. Bosworth's AP Computer Science Principles class to come down, watch, and enjoy the show. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Ryanology, which will be out in just a week, where we'll be interviewing another community member. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for any notifications that DHS TV Media may have and for any future uploads we may have as well. Thank you.